Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hi there.
So guys, just before we get going, just want to remind everybody, make sure you are subscribed and have the bell clicked so you get notifications, hopefully.
Yes, please, indeed. It does help us a lot. It helps them know that, yes, you guys are listening, paying attention, you are curious.
So we're going to talk about the moon. We had a question come about the moon saying, was basically the soul catch, so to speak, truly removed from the moon? And so Cindy asked the guys, we got very clear, definitive answers on that. And before we go deeper, I guess I should explain what it is. Well, there is this thought, and we got verification from the guides, that the moon was placed here by the Enlil Enkyites under Draconian power as sort of a station of sorts, but also of basically a soul catch. It's putting out a vibration, a frequency that keeps the earth in a lower vibrational frequency. And not only that, but when souls would leave the body here, they would have to actually kind of go through this filter, this matrix that is emanating from the moon.
Right, so they were captured through frequency and held through frequency, which, as we learn more and more about the world we live in today, that's not such a crazy idea anymore. And as of now, that frequency or that capture mechanism has been removed by the galactics. It's no longer there. It gives us a new sense of free will and better ability to do as we wish after we leave these bodies.
Yeah, I shared with you too that my mom passed away a little over a year ago, and she was somebody that was super active all her life, just walking miles, even in her 80s, walking miles all the time. And then she was getting a lot of pain in her hips, and she wasn't able to get around a lot the last year or so in her life, and she did live to be almost 91. But when she left her body, I knew right before she was going to pass, even though we were 3,000 miles apart. I could sense her, and she came and touched me on the chin, and I knew that she was about to pass. And then we were able to see that when she did pass, she was happier than can be.
Right, so a lot of people are happier now when they pass because they do have that sense of free will. They can move about, they're not trapped in a frequency, which is a beautiful thing. There's many, many changes, and I think once I go in trance, I will go through and figure out all the different beautiful changes that have been made since we're moving into this new yuga, this new time where people's freedoms are more and more prevalent. They're more on the forefront. We can be more of who we want to be because of the light belt we're moving into.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because years ago I had studied and read all about the Wiccan tradition, and in particular Stregoria, which is Italian witchcraft tradition, which I found fascinating because it goes back to ancient times, and the Etruscans had a lot of knowledge that has been lost from our Western culture, as we had spoken about. So much of everything was just completely purged by the Constantinian Church and destroyed. Yeah, absolutely destroyed. The burning of Alexandria and all. We lost so many great books of knowledge, scrolls of knowledge, and unfortunately, it's been a long time coming to retrieve this. But there was, in that tradition, the thought that the soul goes to the moon after death, literally. And then they also say that the Grigori, the Watchers, basically their power center over Earth is on the moon. Again, the moon is recognized to be a base. It is a base, and it's a base of reptilian control. And our brother Raven, who is from a Cherokee lineage, was sharing us with us stories that were perfectly in line with what the Etruscans believed as well.
Right, and there's just a lot of different belief systems that the moon is artificial. And, there's stories too about, NASA said they plowed it was a missile into the moon, and it rang like a bell for like a solid 30 minutes, which isn't normal, for anything like that.
Well, yeah, the fact that it's hollowed out, and very well, it may have been a natural, um, asteroid / planetary body that was basically hollowed out and used as a base, and then brought here. And what we have gotten is that it feels like it came here in the Younger Dryas period, which again coincides with the flood of Enlil and the mass extinction cataclysm that we had. As we know, there's impact scarring in Greenland. And interesting too that the movie Greenland was all about escaping the next cataclysm by going into the bases there in Greenland. And Greenland itself was probably the impact of whatever it was that came and hit. And I don't think it was completely natural. I think there was artificial flavoring involved, artificial guidance involved. It wouldn't be hard for some with the type of technology that the Nibiruans have to just basically take an asteroid and nudge it a little bit and just send it on down.
Right, I know it's really difficult to believe and hard to grasp that these things could have happened, but it's true. And now we're looking at things being corrected. I know we have the soul capture has been removed, but how long is the moon actually going to be here, and what's going to happen when the moon is no longer here? What happens then? Well, what happens then is the Earth is going to correct itself. We don't really have an exact timeline that we can comprehend or we can understand, other than I got that it's going to be a modern time, much like we're in now, and probably a time period in the winter where Earth is going to correct herself, and it is going to be it's going to be scary.
Well, yeah, because we have a 23.5 degree tilt, and that's going to rectify itself. It's interesting too, because there are traditions that speak of a time before the Earth had a tilt, and everything grew beautifully, and we didn't get the severe weather that we have now. It was this self-containing system that many people will remember from the Bible and start talking about the firmament and all that. But basically what you would have is a much more hospitable planet without the extremes if we didn't have that tilt. Now, modern science I don't trust at all, because I know they have agendas and they're controlled by the controllers of this planet. And again, the controllers of this planet are certain families and certain organizations that are not working for humanity, and they're not working for the angelic realm. They're working for the opposite, these galactic pirates, slave traders, so to speak. And so they have their agenda. But they will tell you that gosh, we'd be a wreck without the moon. But the reality is the opposite. Without the moon, things would stabilize, and we wouldn't have all these extremes. Think about it too. We look at HAARP, right? And we look at CERN. Recognize that we don't know what technology exists up on the moon itself and what they could just do by a flick of a switch or an intention.
That's right. There's a lot of things that we haven't been taught and we haven't been told. That's why it's nice to be able to reach in the ether and get some answers for us, because think about like every book that we read, every textbook, every science book has been written by these beings that control us. So it's really hard to take anything from any book, anywhere, seriously, because again, we're being controlled, we're being manipulated to keep us in our place.
And we've talked about all the Sumerian tablets, how there's hundreds of thousands of them, and they all give us basically the same story. We see that there are there's places out there like Gaia, for instance, that give us so much good knowledge, yet be weary and suspicious, because again, anything that's of such a large structure and is getting over good messages, question it, because there's a lot of people that are giving us a lot of the truth, but they might have an agenda, or they might also be just not able to tell you the whole truth. And it feels like what they're going to do at some point in time is they're going to roll out the Enkyites and say these are our saviors because they always fought for us. But remember, if you do look at the stories, Anu was going to grant humanity equality with the Anunnaki, and grant them eternal life, so to speak, immortality. And Enki tricked humanity into saying, no, we don't want that. So again, good cop, bad cop. Recognize what's going to be going on. There's going to be a good cop, bad cop dialogue, which is easy to see because we could easily blame Enlil for everything and feel like Enki is, got our back. But does he really?
I know, that's really a $1,000,000 question. Does he really? What's in it for him? There's always something in it for these other entities. So they're going to do what they do for them. So we need to do what we need to do for us, and keep that in mind. And, take care of yourself, because nobody else is gonna. I mean, they might have an agenda. They might take care of you just enough to fulfill their agenda, but that's it. So we need to just watch out for ourselves and each other.
Most definitely. Keep raising your vibrations. Keep working on the spiritual side, your mantras, your meditation, your Qigong, energy work, and healthy body too. Get yourself off of everything that'll lower your vibration, from simple sugars to big, PHARMA. Those things are door openers. We see so many people that have attachments, and it's simply because of just following the advice of their DR, period. And it's unfortunate, but that's part of the whole control grid, control system. So fascinating to think that there will be a time when the moon won't be there anymore. The moon will be gone. And so I asked Cindy, I said, well, Rahu and Ketu are nodes of the moon, and those are huge in Vedic astrology as far as their influence. And they will be gone. They will be gone. So that whole part will be gone from your chart. And really, when you think about it, they're kind of thought as being malefic.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense because they're part of the Draco-reptilian control grid.
Right. So if they're nodes of the moon and they're not there, that equals they're just gone. So to me it's pretty simple. I know it might be more complicated than that, but that's what I'm seeing.
It's pretty wild too, because your whole moon sign would be gone as well. That whole aspect would be gone. So you would have your ascendant and your sun sign. Very, very fascinating to think about the repercussions of this from an astrological point of view again.
It would be, because the stars, they hold their background. They stay the same. It's the planets that move.
And again, when you just look to your Bible, there's 2 creation stories. And the first one, basically everything's perfect. And that's reflective of these true creator beings. And let's just throw the God word out, because it's been used for describing so many different beings. Let's be a little more specific, and there are these true creator beings which are very, very high vibrational consciousnesses that do guide the creation of solar systems, galaxies, and even universes. And that's what's reflected in the first story. And then there is a cataclysm because it's redone. And after that first creation, basically it was everything that was plants, the fruit of the trees shall be your food, and their leaves, the herbs, will be your medicine. After the cataclysm and the recreation, which is talking about the Younger Dryas period and the bringing in of the moon and all that, then we're under the Anunnaki Draco control grid, and then we're told to subdue everything and use everything, and go ahead, eat meat, just don't eat pork and what have you, because that's their way. that's the reptilian way of things. It's subduing and controlling the earth and all of their quote-unquote properties and territories that they own. That's the way they view things. They are, again, galactic pirates that just raid and take over, use and abuse, and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, definitely. Use whatever they need people for, and then discard them, when they're done.
So we had also gotten, and it's probably a subject for a totally different video, that the original humanoid beings on the planet were beings that were very much in tune with the earth. Very much. And, they lost, well, they were basically wiped out and persecuted. And as we know, there's no more Denisovans, there's no more Neanderthals. That's all, gone now, unfortunately.
Yeah, so that's another one that I wanted to channel deeper on to see what kind of beings that were here originally. As we catch this exit, thank you guys for your
Continue for
patience.
23 miles.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about, guys, because when Cindy was channeling what were those original humanoids like, it was very much like Avatar. They could communicate with not just the animals, the birds, the fish, the plants too. It was, a telepathic communication with everything on Earth.
And if you look at things now, they've created a 3D structure, an artificial structure for that communication to take place, but under their control.
Exactly. So, was it an upgrade or was it a downgrade? That's the thing. Again, the stories are given from the point of view of the victors. And to the Anunnaki, maybe they thought they were doing a good thing, giving us some of their ways, their, aggression, their conquering, their desire to control. But in the big scheme of things, obviously, most of us would view those things as flaws, personality flaws, if we want to attain higher vibrational frequencies and higher states of consciousness.
Most definitely. And, I look at those beings and I think about what they're doing now with FIVEG and the internet or the connection, I think it's the internet of all things. We had that. We already had that. In many ways, we still have that. But they've taken it away on an organic level. But it's not that we can't get it back.
No, because we can, and it's coming. The moon will be removed at some point in time. The control grid is starting to fall away and fray, and it's only a matter of time. And then, we're heading towards a new golden age.
We are. It's a beautiful time we have looking forward, and all of you guys that are starseeds out there are helping us get there one day at a time.
Yes. So thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. If you need to set up a time for an appointment, it's EEARTS at ProtonMail or evolutionaryenergyarts at gmail.com.
God bless and namaste.
God bless. Namaste.